All right, so one of the things that you've been talking about is that you've been seeing more hijabs in Canada in general. I think you were talking about Montreal specifically, is that right? Now, I see the way the hijab has been fetishized here in America. For example, the fencer that just won, I think, was it bronze?
She should have been the flag bearer above a guy who holds the all-time record for most medals because she has made a sartorial decision.
Right.
Clearly, it was Islamophobic not to make it.
So for the people who aren't quite following the sarcasm there, I think you're referring to the piece that was written on CNN. You saw that?
Yes, sir.
Saying that basically she should carry the flag at the ceremonies instead of Michael Phelps, despite his 21 gold medals and blah, blah, blah. She did win one thing, but it would be better for society if we showed her. But so they fetishized it. I have no problem with her wearing it if it's her choice, of course. I would be for anyone doing what they want with their body. But I would always take the most successful athlete in an Olympic competition, call me crazy. So what do you make of the situation in Montreal specifically? Because I don't think you're not in and of itself against the hijab, right?
So people actually write and say, are you just against people choosing what to wear? I mean, it's astonishing that you could be so myopically stupid.
Yeah.
Right? If I wear a shirt that says, I despise people with green eyes, right? It's not just, there is a message to that t-shirt, right? So the hijab is also a political statement, right? It is basically saying that there is increased Islamization that is conspicuously around us, right? Now, individual woman it might certainly be the case that she chooses. We don't have any empirical data that I'm aware of that tells us how many of these women are forced versus how many choose it freely. But we know through, again, history, that if you look at women in Afghanistan in 1950, if you look at women in Iran in 1960s and 70s, if you look at women in Pakistan, if you look at women all over those regions, in Egypt, if graduating class in Cairo University from 1970 to today, it seems quite astonishing that they've all decided at the same time to freely don massive Islamic garb. The more likely statistical probabilistic argument is that there is now an environment that is forcing women to wear that, right? So there is a message to that garb, right? And therefore, when from 1975 to 2003, that's when we moved to Montreal in 1975, I had seen a single woman in Islamic garb in my entire life in Montreal. From 2003 till today, you can walk in areas of Montreal where 30, 40, 50% of the women are veiled. Sometimes it's not just hijab, it's more Islamic garb.
Right.
That doesn't bode well in terms of secularism and liberalism and modernity.
Okay, so that's the part that I think is important here. So you're not, in and of itself, you don't care that this woman is wearing this if she chose it. And as you said, there isn't enough information, studies to prove whether she was forced to or not, whatever. But it's what it really says about society as a whole, right? Because you can get a sense that people that wear religious garb probably are going to vote in certain ways that will be against secular values. So that's why it's not racist or bigoted if you're just a free thinker to not want. And it's also always women. Why is it always women?
Right.
How many men are walking around?
Well,
in
I've taken several. I've done very little, as you said, social media. But in 2 instances, I've taken photos of fully veiled women on Southern California beaches. The men that they're with are completely dressed, right? Where are the feminists arguing about that, right? So the guys are allowed to naturally experience the environment of the beach, but the women have to be cloaked in incredibly restrictive thing. Doesn't that seem sexist?
Yeah.
But then I'll get attacked. But so what if she wears a bag over her whole body and there are only slits that allow her to see the Laguna Beach? Who are you? What do you mean, who am I? I mean, again, we have common sense, right? I mean, do most women, if they've given a choice, would they prefer to be dressed in a bag over their head rather than wearing shorts and experiencing the beauty of the Pacific Ocean? Come on.
Right, so the critic will make it sound like you're focusing on that, but actually what you're doing is you're using the same principles across the board. You're not focusing on that. You're pointing something out because it's an aberration to the way the rest of the society behaves. And by the way, to prove that we're not gross and racist, I mean, I live here in California. It's probably 95 degrees out right now. There are going to be Orthodox Jewish men wearing big wool hats and crazy long jackets. I think that's equally as bonkers.
Yes.
They're not forcing other people to do it, which is a difference. That Bill Warner made a point when you had him on your show, and I had him on and he brought that up, that there's a difference in the way the religions act. So in that case, those Orthodox guys, as silly as that may be, they're not trying to spread that to non-believers.
Well, and let me add another point to make it personal. So I'm Jewish, right? If I see the Hasidic guy dressed in his garb, as a matter of fact, I do, in the privacy of my car as I drive by with my wife, say, look at these guys. And
I do it all the time.
I'm not feeling happy about it.
Yeah, so now you're an anti-Semite.
I'm an anti-Semite. I hate Jews.
Yeah.
Right? But I know that this guy poses literally zero threat to me. Mm-hmm. Now, there are endless studies that we have data looking at Jew hatred, not Israel hatred, Jew hatred stemming from Islamic countries. 95%, 99%, 93%. The numbers are not good. So if I see somebody who is advertising their identity, and that identity has a probability of 95 to 100% hating me, have I evolved the brain to be minimally concerned about having an increase of those people, just statistically speaking? Notwithstanding that many women who wear the hijab, I could probably invite them over to my house for dinner and vice versa, and they could become my best friends. Statistically, on average, in the same way that when I walk into the dark alley, I am more afraid of 4 young men than 4 elderly women, I'm more afraid of somebody who is exhibiting their fundamentalist religiosity, if it's Islamic, than if it's Jewish.
Yeah, and that's why I started this with the Olympic thing, because in the judo match, when the Israeli put his hand out and the Egyptian wouldn't shake his hand, first off, these countries have a peace agreement. They've been at peace. There has not been one Israeli killed by an Egyptian or Egyptian killed by an Israeli since 1979, or probably before that, probably since the 1973 war or something. And also, Egypt lets no aid into Gaza. So Egypt, you could make a very strong case that Egypt they've sealed off the border, they've destroyed all the tunnels, they shoot people that try to get out of Gaza, that they're much worse to the Gazans than Israel is, where all the aid comes through. So it's a fake. So the point is that
no Jews, no news.
Well, exactly. No Jews. There's not one Jew in Gaza. But my point being that this person, we have 2 countries that are at peace. He wouldn't shake this guy's hand, not because it's a cold peace. It was because he's the Jew.
Absolutely. Look, I think maybe Sam Harris mentioned this tweet that I had sent out, I think, about my T-shirt test.
Oh, right. Yeah, go ahead.
So let me reiterate it.
Please.
Right? To anybody who tries to argue about, no, but it's peaceful and they're, right? Just, I will pay, right? Or maybe because of all your massive Patreon donations.
I'll split it with you.
I will pay to the idiot who utters that stupidity a ticket to go to the place that I choose, but you have to tape it with a T-shirt that says, I'm a gay Jew, I love Judaism, and walk around in that neighborhood. Yeah. Come back to us and let us know how it goes.
Yeah. Probably not that. Well, you probably don't come back to us. So it's a one-way ticket. So you know what? I'll foot the bill.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate your altruism.
I'll foot the bill. All right, so let's go a little more on this sort of moralizing stuff. We had been emailing privately. I'm going to expose a little bit of our private email from about a week ago. You were telling me a bit about how you were sort of caught in a e-mob of sorts, that people ask you a lot of things. They ask for favors, they ask for retweets on this or help this person or that person. I get a lot of it too. I do things privately that I don't talk about. Sometimes there's legitimate security reasons that I don't talk about it. Sometimes it's just, I don't have to sit here and pat myself on the back. Whatever, it's fine. Even that sounded, I didn't even like the way that came out. But basically you were asked to sort of help somebody.
Right.
And go ahead.
So, as you said, I mean, people don't appreciate the number of messages that we receive, and the hundreds and the thousands, right? It's endless.
Yeah.
And I receive them on my Gmail account, on my university address, on my private Facebook page, on my public Facebook page, on Twitter. So I am bombarded endlessly by all sorts of requests. The reality is, being who I am, I'm astonishingly accessible, way more accessible. Everybody's told me, please reduce you're going to burn yourself out.
Yeah.
So I come on vacation here and I take the position that I'm not going to, work, right? Anything that I'm going to post is going to be related to my vacation. Here I am surfing here I am, whatever. Right?
To prove this, you called me to tell me that you weren't going to respond to my tweet that I had sent about Lebanon.
Precisely because
so you're not lying. I know you're not lying. Yeah.
So then this gentleman put some tweets out tagging me several times, I think. Then he posted on my public Facebook page, then sent me several private messages. The smart thing for me would have been to just ignore, okay? Because of my purity, sitting at the beach with my children playing around, I wrote back, hey buddy, look, I'm on vacation, lay off, right? I mean, I was a bit indignant. He writes back, he's upset that, I was rude. And then I block and ban him. So then the e-mob is started. First, they release our private exchange, which is, there's nothing to hide in that private exchange, but that's a huge social faux pas, right? Yeah. So already that. And then they start with the e-mob. This guy is taking pictures of him at the beach, but he can't retweet something. He doesn't, but they don't appreciate that if I did, first of all, I have to vet what that tweet is. That means I'd have to take half an hour to an hour to know who's this guy? What's the thing that they're asking for, right?
What's the cause? Is it legitimate?
But I've also have 300 other such requests, right? Why yours? I've received a request from people who've come on your show, famous people. I wrote back to them very much like I wrote to this kid, although less indignant because they weren't hounding me as much. And I said, hey, sorry, X and Y, I'm on vacation. What did they write back? Because they're sane gentlemen. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know you were on vacation. No worries, Gad. This kid posts, bitch, this. I mean, forget about who would speak like that to somebody, right? I mean, I'm old enough to be your dad, right?
Right.
So the reality is that there is an ugliness. People don't appreciate what we do. 95%, look, I'm a professor who has a full-time job as a very serious academic. I don't even need to be involved in this public debate. I take great personal and professional risks to do what I do. So now I want a couple of weeks where I'm not bombarded by all this ugliness. That ugliness exists whether I'm at the beach or not. I just want to break from it for a week or two. No, I'm a pig who doesn't appreciate the danger that this guy's going through.
Well, I bring it up not so that you can prove what a good person you are, which I know is not what you're trying to do there, but to just show that there's a personal piece of this, that this online world that we've all been part of, and you have a channel on YouTube, which I want to talk about in a second, and putting stuff out there on Twitter and all this stuff, that it's connected us, and at the same time, it does rip us apart in a weird way. So I suspect that the person that sent you this probably is a huge admirer of your work, knows that you care about the same things that they care about, and yet because you didn't behave in one instance how they wanted you, now you're the enemy.
I'm Hitler.
And right, you're Hitler. But this is the danger of what's happening online, and I think we're starting to see it permeate into every part of society.
And let's be very pragmatic. Now, just because of my personality, when these guys come at me, it's only going to embolden me more. I mean, because I am walking big testicles. That's just the way.
Our approach to this is very different. You do the attack. To me, it's like, goodbye.
No, but I'm always polite. I never insult. I know, right? But in other words, it's just the unique combination of genes that make who Gad Saad is. Means that these kinds of guys are not. I mean, I face threats from much bigger guys than an 18-year-old, who's a castrato who calls me bitch. Right? I face, in terms of the hierarchy of threats that I receive, he's not very threatening to me.
Right.
But let's suppose I decided. Let's just play out an exercise.
Yeah.
I decided. You know what? I hate receiving all this hate stuff. Who wants to be, when you're doing this for only pure reasons, right? I mean, you're doing this to introduce your small voice to the greater debate. Yeah. I decided, you know what, guys, good night, I'm packing it in. Would that be a good thing? So if I decided that, if tomorrow you decided, you know what, I'm tired of the hate, right? So these guys who are supposedly on our side, by acting in this brutal, barbaric e-mob manner, it might not dissuade me, but it could. But it could dissuade this person. Now, if we bring it to another context, what about the 12-year-old girl who is receptive to a similar e-mob, who doesn't have the structure of personhood that Gad Saad has? I could look at it, it annoys me for an hour, I'm upset, but then I forget about it, I don't care, I move on. But that 12-year-old doesn't have the same thing. But it's the same phenomenon, right? There's an anonymity here, we e-mob and we trash. And that's truly grotesque, and I wish people would think about it before they do it.
Yeah, I guess it's that we don't take a breath sometimes before we realize what we're doing. You know, as you're saying that, I'm recalling during the last attack in Brussels, I saw just within as it was unfolding, I mean, they didn't even know how many people were dead. I saw someone that I didn't know, it was just a random person, tweet something about even worse than the dead is the amount of Islamophobia this is going to create.
Right.
And I retweeted and I said, this is the very definition of regressive left, that we're more concerned about an idea that may cause some ill will towards an idea, right? Now, I'm not talking about hurting people, that we're more concerned about that than actual dead bodies that are still warm and being counted. And it happened to be a random person, and it got a couple thousand retweets, and I actually felt bad after, because I felt that I had then unleashed, you know, the mob on some random person. So it works every which way, and none of us are perfect, I think, is the point of this, that you try to do good, but sometimes...
And how about just being decent, right? I mean, a lot of people, incidentally, out of the endless number of people who kind of weighed in on this, you know, 99% were like, hey, the guy is on a break with his family. Lay off. You don't think he does enough? But, you know, 1% of a very large number is still a big tsunami of hate. And so again, stop and think before you do this. Do you want the people that you supposedly admire, that you respect, to ultimately be driven out because of your hatred? Or do you want to encourage us to continue? So you and I already receive tons of hate from really nefarious folks. We don't need additional hate from supposedly our friends.
Yeah. Now, I suspect, despite the hate or the memes that people may send you, and you know, I've mentioned this a few times before, but Ben Shapiro, who's Orthodox Jew, wears a yarmulke, so he's putting himself out there in a certain respect. You know, I've seen the horrible memes that people show him in Auschwitz and in ovens and terrible stuff and all this stuff. My policy on all this is basically I ignore it. I don't engage with these people. If a crazy random person came up to me on the street that I didn't know and started screaming at me, I would ignore them. So why would I not ignore the crazy online person? So you're not for banning these people or any of that stuff, right? You're fully for. I mean, short of direct violence.
Banning them from my page or banning them from speaking?
Well, I meant from speaking, but you're okay with...
You speak as much as you want. Look, as I've always said, you know, I support Holocaust deniers. Yeah. But I mean, it's difficult to give an example of somebody who supports free speech more than a Jewish person saying that I support a guy who denies the reality that is about as clear a historical fact as the existence of gravity. Right? So I support the right of these people to be assholes. Here's the difference, though. I sometimes will ban and block people because they're just endlessly, you know, abusive, right? Then they will find a way to start a narrative that how could I be for free speech, right? Because free speech is about allowing an intruder into your shower, and when you go in, he starts saying, hey, fat boy, take a shower, fat boy, fat boy. And if I kick him out of my house, I am forbidding his free speech. I mean, you must be so incorrect in your thinking about what free speech is to actually make that argument, and hence that's why you're naturally lobotomized.
Right. So to be absolutely clear, you're not against them exercising their free speech. You just don't have to be the knowing recipient of it, nor give them a platform. So, for example, on your Facebook page, if someone was slamming it all day and fighting with people and all that, you don't have to give them that spot to do it. They can do it wherever they want. But somehow now you're the enemy of free speech.
Or they then say, oh, the guy speaks against safe space, but he wants a safe space. Again, they completely misunderstand what safe space is. A term that developed in the context of universities, where you're supposed to, by definition, be exposed to a multiplicity of ideas. That's what education is. And then a bunch of people are saying, no, but if you hold an idea that's different from mine, that makes me feel unsafe. Here I'm saying, look, I'm tired of hearing you call me fat, and therefore I'd like to shut off your voice. That's not creating a safe space in the way that we criticize safe spaces on universities. So they're just so, you know, pathologically confused.
Yeah, it's funny because on my own Facebook page, I think I've banned maybe 3 people, and I can't even swear that it's that many, but it was for just that. If you were just in there to fight, I didn't care what you were saying about me, but if you're just in there to fight everybody else with just epitaphs and racial stuff and language, it's like, that's not the forum that I want to create in this world. It's not what I do here physically with you right now, and it's not the forum that I want to create on the digital side.
And look at the interactions that we both have with our guests on our shows. They're always respectful. They're always pleasant. People always want to come back on our shows and so on, precisely because we create it. You can't have a conversation if you're calling the other person bitch and fat and gay, and I mean that's not how reasonable, rational people engage in serious conversations.
You know how hard it is for me to sit here and not be using all those terms all the time.
The only term you're
and I treat everyone equally.
Is sexy. That's the only
I
term
see incredible tan. That's what I see. Just incredible tan.